Hey, what's up? So I'm actually traveling right now. I've been out of the country for the last 2 weeks or so. I'm going to be gone for the next maybe month and a half or so. So I don't want to lose the habit of uploading YouTube videos. So here I am. I'm uploading from my Airbnb in Tokyo. I was in Korea for the last week or so, and then I spent a couple of days in Osaka, and now I'm here in Tokyo. And the title of this video is probably going to be like, how do we travel for 2 months out of the year, for example? And the short answer to that is we work remotely, right? A lot of times, a lot of people ask my wife, like, "Hey, do you even work? Like, you're always traveling. Seems like you're always traveling, blah blah blah." And I think what's happening is like, typically when you interact with other people that you don't know so well on social media, for example, you only see what they're doing when they're posting, and then the other 80% of the time when they're not posting, you kind of forget about them, right? So a lot of people ask my wife if she works. She does work, and she works very hard actually. And we're able to travel because we just work remotely, and we've been taking advantage of that flexibility. I think it's very difficult to travel when you're younger because you have a lot of time, but you don't have a lot of money. And then when you get older, it's difficult to travel because you don't have any time, but you have money to travel, right? So it's kind of like it's hard to get the best of both worlds. And I guess luckily, if you're able to work remotely, then you're able to travel and also work at the same time to to afford the traveling, right? The problem I think with traveling remotely or just in general is like you only see the good parts of it when you talk to other people. I think for me, I've done this every year for a while now, is traveling while you're working is actually pretty difficult, especially in Asia because the hours are not that great, right? So for example, when I was in Korea, I was sleeping at like 9 p.m. and I would wake up at like 1 a.m. and I would work until like 8 a.m. and I would sleep from like 8 to like 12, right? And that's dude, that's 8 hours of sleep, I guess. But it was pretty brutal, especially if you don't hella like traveling. It's kind of like a trade off you have to make. Whereas I don't like traveling as much as my wife does, for example. So she really wanted to do it, and I was like, I don't really want to do it. And I think for me, I had a very difficult time agreeing to this trip because I just I don't like traveling as much as her, and I was just worried about how it would affect my work and everything. And she was saying, "Hey, you know what? Like, this is the last time in our lives we can do this. We don't have any responsibility. We don't have any kids. We have the flexibility. A lot of people would be dying to be in this position." And I was like, "Okay, that's true. I should look at the positives." And then I went through this maybe a couple weeks before the trip. I just went through this like really hardcore like mind powers process where I'm just like, "Okay, everything's gonna be fine. It works to be fine. You're gonna be able to do it. It's gonna be great. Whatever, whatever." And I just like realized I had this limiting belief where traveling would just hurt my business for some reason. And I don't know where that came from, and it may be true, it may not be true. I think it's whether you believe it's true or not is what ends up coming. So I just started like mind powering it, and I just had like a shift where I started appreciating the ability to travel more versus like the fact that I was essentially being forced to travel. Funny tidbit is how we typically travel, and we've been to like together maybe like 25 or so countries in the last 10 years or so. And typically how we travel is she plans everything and then I just go along. And the rule is I can't complain because I didn't contribute, but then I go along and I just do whatever she wants to do, which typically works out because I don't like I've seen the world and I also don't have to work putting effort into it. But then as we get older, I've been complaining more and more because I'm like, yo, I don't necessarily want to do this. But then I think this trip kind of just made me refocus, like, okay, focus on the positives, not so much the negatives. And I think what happens as well, like at least for me, is like if I think back about my life 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, like there's always some worry about something that's going to happen, like getting to college or getting your first job or whatever it is, and then you think back like, oh, everything just worked out and it was fine, right? And then even like last year I was like, oh my god, this travel was going to suck, this trip's going to suck, and then it worked out and it was fine. And this year I'm like, oh my god, this trip's going to suck, and like, oh, so then now I'm just like, okay, why don't you think it's going to be fine before it even happens, and then it works out? Because I think worrying is pointless because if it does happen, then you can deal with it then. But if it didn't happen, you just spend a lot of effort, on something that didn't even happen. So yeah, I think the mind powers help a lot with this mindset shift, and yeah, and then even and now and when I'm traveling in Japan, I'm just like, okay, if I feel tired, I'm just gonna sleep early. So right now I've been sleeping at like 7 p.m., waking up at 2 a.m. That's like a full 8 hours, and I'll take a nap from like 9 a.m. to like 12, right, to just adjust for her time. So it's been chill. I've actually been sleeping more here than I have in America, and yeah, I mean, like if I'm not going to see everything in Japan, it's totally fine. Like we've come here a decent amount anyway, so it's not the biggest deal. And we're here for a long period of time as well. So yeah, I think getting over that that limiting belief was, I mean, a small breakthrough for me. I think it was very helpful to kind of go through those mind exercises. And yeah, I think I think it'll be fun. See you guys next video. I'm gonna be in Taiwan for the next month or so, so let me know if you guys are here. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Thanks.